Chapter 17 Jesus appears, fully materialized. Before Apollo and the Silent Brotherhood in Greece appears to Claudia and Juliet on the Tiber, Nero appears to the priest in the Egyptian temple at Heliopolis. 1. Apollo, with the Silent Brotherhood of Greece, was sitting in a Delphian grove. The oracle had spoken loud and long. 2. The priests were in the sanctuary, and as they looked, the oracle became a blaze of light. It seemed to be on fire, and all consumed. 3. The priests were filled with fear. They said, "A great disaster is to come, our gods are mad, they have destroyed our oracle." 4. But when the flames had spent themselves, a man stood on the oracle's pedestal and said, 5. Allah speaks to man, not by an oracle of wood and gold, but by the voice of man. 6. The gods have spoken to the Greeks, and kindred tongues, through images made by man, but Allah the One, now speaks to man through Jesus the only Son, who was, and is and evermore will be. 7. This oracle shall fail, the living oracle of Allah, the One, will not fail. 8. Apollo knew the man who spoke. He knew it was the Nazarene who once had taught the wise men in the Acropolis and had rebuked the idol worshippers upon the Athens beach. 9. And in a moment Jesus stood before Apollo and the Silent Brotherhood and said, 10. Behold, for I have risen from the dead with gifts for men. I bring to you the title of your vast estate. 11. All power in heaven and earth is mine, to you I give all power in heaven and earth. 12. Go forth and teach the nations of the earth the gospel of the resurrection of the dead and of eternal life through Jesus, the love of Allah made manifest to men. 13. And then he clasped Apollo's hand and said, My human flesh was changed to higher form by love divine, and I can manifest in flesh or in the higher planes of life at will. 14. What I can do all men can do. Go teach the gospel of the omnipotence of man. 15. Then Jesus disappeared, but Greece and Crete and all the nations heard. 16. Claudius and Juliet, his wife, lived on the Palatine in Rome, and they were servants of Tiberius, but they had been in Galilee. 17. Had walked with Jesus by the sea, had heard his words and seen his power, and they believed that he was Jesus made manifest. 18. Now Claudius and his wife were on the Tiber in a little boat. A storm swept from the sea. The boat was wrecked, and Claudius and his wife were sinking down to death. 19. And Jesus came and took them by the hands and said, Claudius and Juliet, arise and walk with me upon the waves. 20. And they arose and walked with him upon the waves. 21. 1,000 people saw 3 walk on the waves, and saw them reach the land, and they were all amazed. 22. And Jesus said, You men of Rome, I am the resurrection and the life. They that are dead shall live, and many that shall live will never die. 23. By mouth of gods and demigods Allah spoke unto your fathers long ago, but now he speaks to you through perfect man. 24. He sent his Son, Jesus, in human flesh to save the world, and as I lifted from the watery grave and saved these servants of Tiberius. 25. So Jesus will lift the sons and daughters of the human race, yea, every one of them, from darkness and from graves of carnal things, to light and everlasting life. 26. I am the manifest of love raised from the dead. Behold my hands, my feet, my side which carnal men have pierced. 27. Claudius and Juliet, whom I have saved from death, are my ambassadors to Rome. 28. And they will point the way and preach the gospel of the holy breath and the resurrection of the dead. 29. And that was all he said, but Rome and all of Italy heard. 30. The priests of Heliopolis were in their temple met to celebrate the resurrection of their brother Nazarite. They knew that he had risen from the dead. 31. The Nazarite appeared and stood upon a sacred pedestal on which no man had ever stood. 32. This was an honor that had been reserved for him who first would demonstrate the resurrection of the dead. 33. And Jesus was the first of all the human race to demonstrate the resurrection of the dead. 34. When Jesus stood upon the sacred pedestal, the masters stood and said, "All hail!" The great bells of the temple rang and all the temple was ablaze with light. 35. And Jesus said, "All honor to the masters of this temple of the sun." 36. In flesh of man there is the essence of the resurrection of the dead. This essence, quickened by the holy breath, will raise the substance of the body to a higher tone. 37. And make it like the substance of the bodies of the plains above, which human eyes cannot behold. 38. There is a holy ministry in death. The essence of the body cannot be quickened by the holy breath until the fixed is solved. The body must disintegrate, and this is death. 39. And then upon these pliant substances Allah breathes, just as He breathed upon the chaos of the deep when worlds were formed. 40. And life springs forth from death. The carnal form is changed to form divine. 41. The will of man makes possible the action of the holy breath. When will of man and will of Allah are one, the resurrection is a fact. 42. In this we have the chemistry of mortal life, the ministry of death, the mystery of deific life. 43. My human life was wholly given to bring my will to tune with the deific will. When this was done, my earth tasks all were done. 44. And you, my brother, know full well the foes I had to meet. You know about my victories in Gethsemane, my trials in the courts of men, my death upon the cross. 45. You know that all my life was one great drama for the sons of men, a pattern for the sons of men. I live to show the possibilities of man. 46. What I have done all men can do, and what I am all men shall be. 47. The masters looked, the form upon the sacred pedestal had gone, but every temple priest, and every living creature said, "Praise Allah."